Hi guys, this is Angela, and we are going to be making Parker on the Porch's double top zipper bag. It's super cute and really easy to make. I'm going to help you make it, so let's get started. I'm going to be doing the 5x7. This is the 5x7 size right here. So I have my 5x7 hoop, I have one sheet of tearaway, and I have the first file loaded. You're going to have to do 2 hoopings, so this is the first one. The first thing you do is to do the placement stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and run step 1, and it's going to stitch the placement stitches directly onto your stabilizer. So I'll come back and show you what that looks like. Okay guys, this is what it looks like with your placement stitches on. So this shows you a couple things. It's going to show you how big your fabric needs to be, but it also shows you where to place your zipper. And the next step is going to be tacking down your zipper. So we're going to go ahead and place that right here along this bottom line right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put my zipper here. And a lot of people ask what size zippers you need. You really, normally I would suggest if you make a lot of different sizes of zipper bags, just buy the big ones, the largest ones like 14-inch or 12-inch or something. Depends on what size hoop you can go to. Any size zipper works on any of these bags as long as it's big enough to go past your placement lines right here. It doesn't matter if I use a zipper that's 14 inches here, just as long as it's big enough that this and also right here, your zipper pull can go past either side of your placement. Then it's big enough. It doesn't matter if it's too big because you just cut off the excess anyways. So it's up to you on how you buy those. So the way you want to place this is you want to place the bottom of your zipper right next to the stitch line right here, just like that. And you want it all the way across, just like that. So you can use tape, you can get it exactly there, and then you can tape it on this side and this side, or you can hold it. I hold it, it's a personal preference, but just make sure your zipper pulls on the outside and make sure that this metal closure part's on the outside of your placement line. And the other thing, depending on which way you want your zipper to open from will determine on which side you put your pull on. So if you wanted to open like this, mine are both on this side, make sure you're paying attention that your zipper pull is placed over here. If you want it to open from the other side, then place it this direction. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch the very next step. Just get it lined up to this line and stitch the very next step. And it's just going to go ahead and tack down your zipper on one side. Okay, here it is. This is what it looks like so far. We went ahead and stitched our zipper down. It's on the bottom one spot and it's just held down onto your stabilizer. Now we're going to use this other placement lines right here to determine how big of a piece of fabric we need for our outside and also our liner. They're going to be exactly the same size, the liner and the front. We are making, I'm going to refer back to this, we are making this bottom part right here. So these B fabric, we're making this part, and we're making the liner on the back of the B. So you can see you have the zipper, this B fabric, and I use this yellow fabric as a liner. So this piece right here is what we're making in this first hoop. The other stuff happens in the second hooping. So what we need is whatever fabric you want to show down here and whatever fabric you want to be this inside lining, just this side. That's what fabric you need right now. So I'm going to do the exact same fabric and I'm going to show you how I measure for that. So I've already cut it. So I have my B fabric right here. And I have this B fabric as well, this yellow fabric. Now the way that I measure for it, I just make sure that I have a big enough piece from the zipper down and then from side to side. So I just take a ruler like this and I just measure from the zipper down, and which is right at like 4 inches. I do a little bit more because on this bag, on these bags, is the top zips, you flip them over. So you need a little bit of excess right here because you start upside down and then you flip it over. So I add a little bit and then I make sure it's big enough to measure outside these placement lines. So if you can see on mine right here, here's my bumblebee. We are going to be placing the fabric like this along this line right here in this zipper, like that. And then it's going to stitch a line right here and we're going to be pulling it down. So you need enough fabric to be able to flip it over because you're losing this little piece of fabric right there. That's what I was trying to say. So that's how I measure. And once I measure that, then I just measure a second one because your lining will be exactly the same size. So I went ahead and measured those. I ironed them. Now on the front and the back side of your bag, on fabric, I always use a fusible interfacing, and I'm going to show you what I use. You can find lots of them. This, you might not like this, it might not be thick enough. This one is a thin one. Let me find the label right here for you. I use this lightweight fusible interfacing. It just gives you a little bit more weight to your stuff. It's made by Pellin right there. It's number 44 FPKG8 right there. And I just find it at Joann's. You can find it other places. I believe you can get it on Amazon. This is a thin, lightweight fusible interfacing. You could do thicker on here if you like your bags a little thicker. This is just going to add a little bit to it. And I only add this onto the front pieces of the bag and the back of the bag. I don't add it to any of the liners. So the way that you use this is there's a side that's a little bit rough, that's like little glue dots or whatever, and there's a side that's smooth. So I go ahead and take the rough side and I put it on the wrong side of the fabric. This is the outside of my bag, so I want to put it on this piece. So I just lay it down like that. It's about the right size, and then I just iron it. So I'm just going to iron it like this. It's that easy. It sticks to it. So now it's like that. Now your fabric's just a little thicker. It has more substance to it, and that's the purpose of it. If you want it thicker than this, then I would get something that's not a lightweight one. Just get like a medium fusible interfacing. There's a lot of stuff that you can use. So that's all you do. So we're prepared to do our next steps. I'm going to show you how we do that. We're going to go ahead and take the fabric we want on the front, and we're going to go ahead and place it along this zipper right here, along this line. It's going to stitch on this line that's already stitched. So I actually just give it a little bit of room so it doesn't pull out, and I place it along the zipper edge right there. And I just place it down like this. And then I tape either side. Let's see if my tape's over here. All right, so I place it along the zipper like I was saying, and then I just take regular old Scotch tape. Some people use painter's tape. There's other things you can use. I am just taping it down so it holds in place while it goes ahead and stitches the next tack down. So I'm going to go ahead and place it like that on either side. Make sure it's straight, so when you flip, it's going to be flipped over. And make sure your design is straight. If you have it sideways, it's going to turn out sideways. So make sure you're watching your directions and everything. Now, this is the front of my hoop, the top of my hoop. I'm going to flip it over. Now, your liner goes on at the very exact same time. So here's my liner. I don't put any interfacing on liner. I do have it ironed, and it is the right size. Now, you're going to put it at the exact same line right here. And you're going to put it right sides facing down. So I'm going to go ahead and place it face down like this along that, a little bit over that line actually. So I get it straight, and then I pull it a little bit like that. Make sure you're on the outside of your placement stitches so it gets in the right place. And then I'm going to go ahead and tape this down just like this. Okay. So now you have your liner on, like that, on the back of your hoop, underneath of your hoop. You have the front of your zipper bags on the front like this, taped down. Now we're going to go back to the machine, and we're going to stitch the very next step. And the next step's going to do that same line that just happened on your zipper across here. And it's basically just holding and tacking down both of your fabrics, your liner and the front of your bottom zipper bag right here. At the same time, it's going to stitch them together. So I'm going to go back to the machine and I'll show you. Okay, I'm back on my machine. It's hooped on the machine. I make sure that this is straight and still attached where it's supposed to be. Nothing got moved when I put it on. You can see that it's all fine. Now I'm going to go ahead and stitch The step 3 right here is going to do that 1 stitch line. I'll come back and show you what that looks like. Stitch that line right there. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this tape off because we're going to fold it over. So we need this tape out of the way on both sides. Okay, now what we're going to do next is we're going to fold it down. We're going to get it all folded down nice, and we're going to go ahead and put tape here and here just to hold it where you want it. So I'm going to tape, and I'm going to go ahead and tape there, and I'm going to tape here on the other side, right here. Make sure it's down like where you want it. Tape it. Then I'm going to flip the back over. We're going to take the tape off of here, and we're going to do the same back here. Okay, and you just pull it down, make sure you're over all your stitch lines, make sure you're straight, and pull it. It doesn't have to be really taut, like you have to pull it super tight. Just how you would want the bag. You'd fold it like that, and then you'll tape these sides as well. Once you have your tape down, you put it back on your machine, and then we're going to go ahead and stitch the very last step. The very last step is going to stitch outside of your bag. It's just going to put these 2 fabrics together way down here where it's going to hold them down here. It's just going to do 1 little line, and it really just holds both your fabrics together, like if you have slippery materials or anything like that, and keeps them together. So when we do the next hooping, it's not hard to handle. So go ahead and tape both sides down like that. Put it back on your machine and stitch the next step. That's just going to do a line right down here. I will come back and show you what that looks like. Okay guys, this is what it looks like. It went ahead and put a line straight down here. That's what the top of your hoop looks like, the front. This is what the back of your hoop looks like. So now we are done with this hooping. We can take this out. So go ahead and undo your hoop. I tear off all the stabilizer and I take the tape off. Okay, so you can be ready for the next one. Now you have a choice. If you want like more stability, you can leave it in. If you don't like, at this spot, if you don't like your stabilizer being inside this pocket right here, you do have an opening where you can take it out. So you can just, it comes like, mine comes straight out because I kind of have like a, it's noisy. Mine's kind of a papery one. It's just a tearaway. So I took mine out on this step, so I'm going to do it again. You don't have to though. It can stay there. So all I did, see, it's out. That's all I did. So all of it's out. So here we go. Here's our first piece. You can see that looks like this. And then here's what your back looks like. So now you can set this aside for now. And we're going to go ahead and do the next part of the bag and the next hooping. So you have to go ahead and put a piece of stabilizer on your hoop again. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on. Same hoop size, 5 by 7. Now I'm going to go ahead and meet you at the machine and I will show you what we do next. Hey guys, I'm back on my machine. I have my 5 by 7 hoop on my machine. I have 1 sheet of tearaway. I have the next file loaded. This is file 2 of this design, and it's the 5 by 7 as well. So you can see that it's up. We need to go ahead and stitch step 1, which is going to go directly onto your stabilizer, and it's your placement stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and run that. I'll come back and show you. This is what our placement stitch looks like right there. I'm going to go ahead and do our zipper next. So you can see our placement is right here for the zipper. You're going to want to line up along this line right here. Now remember to put your zipper pull where you want it, depending on which way you want to pull it from. So I'm going to go ahead and do it this way over here. I'm going to get it lined up just like the other one. right next to this line all the way across. You can tape. I'm going to make sure my zipper pull and this stopper, hard piece, whatever it's called, are outside of my placement lines. And I'm going to go ahead and stitch step 2, which is going to go ahead and do a tack down right here. And then it's going to jump and it's going to do a tack down right here above it, tacking down your zipper to the stabilizer. So I'm going to go ahead and run that. Just make sure you're right next to the stitch lines right here and go ahead and run your next step. Make sure to hold it or tape it. You can't just leave it. It will move around if you don't do one or the other. I will come back and show you. Okay guys, this is what it looks like. You can see the stitch lines go right here and right there. You need to be close to that line but not over. If you go too far over, it's going to miss. You can see how close it ends up being. So the placement on here, you have to be pretty precise to make it work. So what we do next, now we're going to go ahead and place our fabric for our front and our fabric for our liner for this. So you'll see this right here, this piece, and you will see this liner right here. We're putting this side of the liner and we're putting this piece on right now. So those are the fabrics you want to go ahead and get, and that's what you want to measure for. So you do the same thing we did on the other one for measuring. You're going to go ahead and measure from the zipper down to the side and then either side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. You measure there. It's a little less than 5, but remember you need to add a little bit because it flips. So you need a little extra room right there. So I've already measured mine and cut mine. So I need, let me make sure I have this right. So I have this piece right here. And then I have this piece right here. So here's my liner. Here's the front of my bag. Now on the front of all our fabric bags, any Parker on the Porch fabric bag that I make, I always put the interfacing on the outside of the bag. So this is the outside of the bag. So you want to put the right sides facing down, wrong side facing up. You want to take a piece of your interfacing. This is lightweight interfacing. You're going to put the rough side on the wrong side of the fabric. You're going to go ahead and iron it down just like we did before. Okay, so that's on there. Now I measured the other pieces on this as well for this one. You're going to need a front of your bag. You're going to need the liner, which I have, and then I did the interfacing on the front of the bag right here. So you have these two pieces. You also need the liner for the back of your bag. So right here, this liner, and you need the back of your bag. So when you measure for that, you're going to measure the whole distance. So you're not flipping this one at all, but so you just measure from here all the way to here and make sure you're big enough on this side too. And you need the exact same piece for the liner. So I have that here. I've already measured. So there's that. I just have it already done. And then here's the back of my bag. So the back of my bag, you also want to do the interfacing. So here's the interfacing. Wrong side, rough side, placed together. And it doesn't really have to be exact for the interfacing. It just, mine's a little big, but it gets cut off later, so it's fine. So there we go. So you need 4 pieces of fabric for this part of the bag. So I have those two, I have these two, and you need the zipper. And then we're also going to use this piece that we've already made. Okay, so that is all set. So I'm going to go ahead and place our front of our bag right here with our liner, which is right here. So we do exactly what we did before. This is the top of your hoop. You're going to go ahead and take your fabric, your front of your fabric. You're going to place it along the zipper right here. I just place it down and match it up to the bottom of the zipper is what I do. I make sure that my fabric's on either side of this placement stitch. And you have wrong sides facing down. Or the right side facing down, wrong side showing up top. And you're just going to tape it in place so it holds good enough to stitch the placement stitch, which is next. So I go ahead and I have it there like that. See how it flips over and down? You have it like that. Now you want to flip your hoop upside down, and you're going to take your liner You're going to want the right side, that's the wrong side, the right side facing down like this. You're going to place this along the line, the placement line right there. And you're going to make sure that it's on either side of your placement stitches so you catch the whole bag. You're going to go ahead and tape it down so it holds. And now we're going to go back over to the machine and we're going to stitch the next step, which is just going to tack these two together. So I will bring you over to the machine and show you what we're doing. Hey guys, I'm back on my machine. I went ahead and placed my hoop on the machine. I make sure that my fabric looks good. I make sure the bottom fabric still looks straight and good and didn't get messed up. I'm going to go ahead and stitch step 3, which is just going to go ahead and stitch one line right here like the last one. This is the same thing we did for the first part of the bag. So we're still doing the same thing. Okay guys, you can see that it went ahead and did this one line right here. It went ahead and connected the two fabrics. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take the tape off of your front. I already took it off. And then you are going to flip the front down and you are going to tape this in place. You can hold it while it stitches or you can tape it, but you want it just flat and down like you would want it as the final bag. It's going to go ahead and stitch down the sides and around, tacking this front piece. You're only doing the front piece. Leave this piece where it is and you're going to pull it down and let it stitch all the way around in place. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and show you what it looks like. So get it on your machine, make sure this is still straight and not getting caught underneath, and go ahead and stitch step 4. I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay guys, this is what it looks like. You can see that it went ahead and tacked a line all the way around this, and we still have our liner up right here. Now we're going to put it back on our machine. I just pulled it out so you guys could see. We're going to make sure our fabric's still straight and pulled and fine. Now the next step is a placement line. Step 5 right there is a placement line, and it's actually going to stitch down here and it's going to show you where to put our other pocket. So we're going to go ahead and stitch it directly onto this fabric, and I will come back and show you what it looks like. Okay guys, this is what it looks looks like. This is your placement right here. You see it that ran right there? Now what you're going to do, this is just a placement line so you can line up your other zipper pouch. So we have this. You're going to go ahead and take this. You're going to flip it over like this. So this is the right side of your fabric, and this is where your zipper, the right side of your zipper, you're going to flip it upside down like this, going across the top zipper like this, kind of like we do the other way, because we're going to go ahead and place it here on that line. We're going to go ahead and stitch a tack down, and then you're going to pull it over, kind of just like we did for the top. It's going to pull over like that. So go ahead and line your zipper up along this line like this. Now remember, you're upside down for your fabric. Line it where you want it, exactly like that, so it's straight, your fabric's straight. You're going to line it right along there. Tape it or hold it, whatever you want. The next step is going to go ahead and just tack a line right up here on your zipper, and I'll come back and show you what that looks like. Okay guys, this is what it looks like right here. You can see that it went ahead and stitched this line right here, tacking it down. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back on my hoop. That's what it did. And I'm going to show you one little tip. I want to show you what it looks like on the finished bag. So that line is this black line right here. And you can you can't really see it. So when your bag is done, I mean, it stays down, so you don't really see it. But if you want to see it even less, I use black here so you can see it. You can use a color that matches your zipper if you want to make sure you don't ever see it at all. Okay, so we go ahead. That's just a tip to use a different color. They're the same color if you want. So now what you're going to do next is you're going to flip this down just like this. If you want to tape it to keep it taut, go ahead and tape it. I hold mine once it stitches like this. I'll just hold it as it goes around, but you're going to want it kind of like straight and taut. You don't want it like like bunching up like this, you're going to want it down. But what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and do a little tack down across the zipper because we need to open our zipper now and we want to keep it together. So we're going to open the zipper just a little bit and get the zipper open like this. You don't want to open it a lot for this tack down because it's harder to keep it together. The tack down is to keep the zipper together. So I'm going to open it a little bit like this. I'm actually going to tape because you want to keep it together. So hopefully you see that. You want to keep it together right there. We're just going to do a tiny little tack down. And there's a reason for that. If we do not do this, when it stitches around the bag, it flips it up. So I can walk all the way around my machine. So you could take this out of your hoop if it makes it easier to get this tape down. So I'm just going to go ahead and tape right here. Keeping it close together. You want your zipper open far enough that your foot of your machine doesn't hit it, but it's going to go across this placement line right here, right across your zipper, holding it together, just so these two stay close together. So I'm going to go ahead and run that next, and I'll show you what it looks like. It's just a tiny little stitch. Closer so you can see it. Now I needed the tripod because I can't open the zipper and hold the camera at the same time. But you can see it stitches this little stitch right here, just holding this together a little more. The next one's going to go across this with it open, so I'm still going to keep some tape over here. But it does that. If you don't do that, then you open the zipper a little bit. This ends up flipping up and it gets caught sticking up. So that's the reason for this little tack down. It's just to hold this piece down in place when it does the next step and goes around the edge. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So the next step is to go ahead and have it go around. It's going to tack down this front fabric to this bag and the one piece of liner. No, I'm just going to tack it to the bag right here. It's going to hold it down. The next step, we'll put the liner down. Keep the liner up this time. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back on the machine, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, I'm back on my machine. My liner is still up. I have my front of my bag. You can tape it. I'm going to hold it taut like this so it's all smooth and clean. I also have a little piece of tape right here along the edge of this top fabric. If this is poofy at all, your foot might catch it and it might not stitch right. So I have that kind of tape down right there just so it doesn't catch, because your machine is going to go this way. It's going to go across where it just went. It's going to come down. It's going to go over, and it's going to go up to like right here. But well, on the stitch line, it will go up to here. So you want to make sure that it doesn't catch this little flap. So make sure that it's flat, basically. And then the other thing, you need to make sure your zipper is open. This, now that it's tacked down right there, you should be fine, but you got to make sure your zipper's on the inside of your bag. Otherwise, you can't open your zipper because we're stitching around now. It can't be over here anymore. So we're going to go ahead and stitch the next step. I'm going to come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, guys, this is what it looks like. It went ahead and stitched all the way around. So it's stitched from here down. It's across your zipper. Your zipper's open on the right side. It came all the way down. It came over, and it came up to here. Okay, so now what we want to do is the next step. We want to flip our bag upside down. We want to take this tape off. Sorry, I'm not good at taking tape off without a tripod, but you're going to take this tape off so you can fold it over the other way. Okay. Okay, so you're going to take this liner, you're going to pull it all the way down, make sure that it's flat, and tape it. You're going to tape it up here and down here, up here and down here. Just make sure that it's straight and flat. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll come back and show you what it looks like. There's the underneath of my hoop, and my liner is taped down. I'm going to take it up. I'm going to put it back on my machine. Okay. And I always just check underneath when I put things on my machine like this, just to make sure that it's not folded over on itself and stuff like that. We still look great. Now we're gonna go ahead and stitch the very next step, which is gonna go all the way around your bag, but it's gonna go around from up here. So it's gonna go ahead and go around, and I will come back and show you what it looks like. Okay guys, we are almost done. This is what it looks like on the front of the hoop. This is what it looks like on the back of the hoop. It went ahead and tacked it to the stabilizer. Okay, now what we're gonna do is open the top zipper. This one's already open. We're gonna open this one now. We're gonna open these farther because we're gonna flip through this zipper. So we're just gonna go ahead and open these. I think you only need the bottom one, or the top one, but I'm gonna open both just so they're out of the way. Okay, so your zipper's open. That's the first thing you're gonna do because we are gonna be putting the back of our bag like this, and it's gonna seal this up. If you don't have this zipper open, you can't flip your bag. You won't have a bag. So you need to make sure your zipper is open. That's most important. Now, this is also where you add anything you want to be hanging off of your bag. If you wanted straps, people are making little crossbody bags, or if you want fold over elastic, this is just, people call it faux, F-O-E. It's fold over elastic. It's just pretty decorative, stretchy elastic. And then these are swivel clasps. This is called D because it has a flat edge. D lobster swivel clasp. I'm going to put this on. You can see that it's on this bag right here. You don't have to add anything, but I'm going to add this on this as well. Okay. So the way you add it, I'll show you. You just go ahead and put your fold over elastic through your clasp. Now, anything you add, you want to be on the inside of your bag because we are going to be cutting around this bag, and everything on the outside of this placement line is going to get cut off. So a way to remember that is it's going to get cut off if it's over here. So you got to place it on the inside. When we flip the bag, it will flip over like that and it will look like this. Okay, so place this wherever you want. You can put this anywhere along the outside placement lines. They can go anywhere because the next step is going to go ahead and stitch around these placement lines several times, and it will tack it into your bag. I'm going to place mine like right here. Now, depending on how long you want this will be determined by this line right here. Let me see if we can see it close enough. Your placement line right here. If you want it really short, then put it really close to that. If you want it longer, then place it farther out. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead. Just make sure that your foot of your machine can get by this metal. You don't want it hitting the metal if you're making it really, really short. So I'm gonna place mine right there. I'm gonna go ahead and tape on the outside of this, just like that. Okay. Now, that's all I'm going to add to mine. So I'm going to take the back of my bag, whatever fabric you want for the back of your bag. I'm going to take the right side of the fabric and I'm going to place it down against the right side of my bag like this. Now, I'm going to make sure I'm over this placement stitch. I'm going to make sure I'm over the side placement stitches on both sides. And I'm going to make sure that I'm over this placement stitch right here. This one right here means nothing. That's going to get cut off. That was just to hold the top pouch together. So ignore that bottom one. It's this one right here that you just have to get past, okay? So make sure your fabric's running the right direction if you have directional fabric, and then go ahead and make sure you're just above that line. Make sure you're either side line. Now, I always leave a little extra at the bottom where you're going to have to close the bag. So that's how I place my fabric, just like this. I'm going to go back to the machine and stitch the very next step, which is going to go ahead and enclose this bag. Make sure your zipper's open. I can't say that enough. And it's going to enclose this bag, and then I'll come back and show you what that looks like. Okay guys, this is what it looks like. You can see that it's stitched right here around the entire bag. So you are now enclosed. Now what you need to do is the very last stitch step. We're going to flip our hoop upside down onto the back, and now we're going to take our last inside liner piece. This is your other piece of liner, and we're going to make sure we make it around all these placement lines. There's some up here, down to here, over to here and here. So just make sure you take the right side of your fabric, place it down on the right side of this fabric, and make sure that you're on the outside of all those placement stitches. Now you can watch directional fabric and stuff like that. Once you're where you want to be, go ahead and take your tape. You're on the underneath of your hoop, so you need to be taping this down in place. Okay, now the next step is just going to go ahead and stitch those same placement stitches, but it's going to leave a hole. It's not going to go all the way around because we're going to flip through a hole in these liners. Okay, so I'm going to bring it back to the machine and I'm going to stitch the very last stitch step. And I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Yay, we are done stitching. So here's what the front of your hoop looks like. Here's what the back of your hoop looks like. You can see that it's stitched all the way around, but it left a hole right here. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and take this off our hoop. I'm gonna take all my tape and my stabilizer off that I can, just around the bag. Okay, get that out of the way, and I'm gonna get all this tape off. Okay, now we are going to go ahead and cut around the bag. I cut from this side just so I can see my stitch lines right here where the opening is, because I leave some fabric around here so it's easier to close. So I'm going to go ahead and take some heavy duty scissors because you have lots of material here. It's pretty thick. You're going to be cutting through zippers and all this fabric. So I cut at an angle like this up to the stitch line without cutting the stitches. And then I turn and I cut all the way around my bag. Don't cut any of your stitch lines. Cut right through your zippers. All the way around. So you're really just trimming the excess fabric and everything that's excess off of your bag. Okay, when I get back over to here, I stop where the stitches stop because there's a hole here. I turn my bag the opposite way and I cut out. Okay, so now you have all of this fabric. I cut it a little shorter because you don't need that much fabric. So I'm going to cut all that off. Now what you really need is the two liner fabrics. So that's where the hole is right there, and that's what you're going to close. That's what you're going to turn through as well. So I take my two liner fabrics, which are just these two. I fold them up. Make sure that you don't catch it. You can fold your bag. It's floppy. You can fold it. I make sure all this fabric's up, and I'm going to cut this excess off right here because you're not going to want that at the bottom of your bag. It's going to be really bulky. So I'm going to cut this part off without cutting any of my stitch lines. Okay, so you can see that it's clean now. And it's cut without cutting any of your stitch lines, okay? And you still have your liners. Okay, so now you're gonna flip your bag through this hole. Now be kind of careful. You don't have really thick stitches on either side of these and it can tear farther than you want it to tear. So this is fabric that you use, so it's pretty easy to turn. It's not terrible. Just take your time. And I just use my hands and just keep turning it through this hole until you get it all the way through. Okay. Now I'm putting my hand in the opening and I'm just pushing out the corners. Okay. There's this corner too. If you're having a hard time getting your corners really clean, you're going to flip it again, so it does not have to be perfect at this stage. But I also use this. It's kind of like a chopstick. You could use a pencil eraser, like a pencil, but the eraser side. I use the blunt side of this. It's kind of like a chopstick, but this is like a turning system. It's like a kind of like a wood dowel. So I'm just going to get the little tiny parts of the corners a little turned better. And it will mean more when we turn it one more time when you're on your final side of your bag. Right now I'm just getting it flat enough that when I close this hole, it's like straight. Okay, so now you have these two flaps in this excess fabric. So the reason I leave this excess fabric is because I sandwich them together when I close. So I go ahead and look at these stitch lines right here, and I fold to those stitch lines. That's the bottom of your bag. So go ahead and go like that. And then I just use these little wonder clips right here. They're called wonder clips. You get a bunch. You can buy them on Amazon. So I flip this side too and get it straight on how I want it to be enclosed. Like that. So I just get it how I want it. I put these little clips here to hold it in place. Okay. And I don't put a ton of them at first because you're just going to reopen it. But there are several ways to close this hole. I use this fabric tack glue. It's clear. It dries within like 3 to 5 minutes. It doesn't leave it clumpy on the bottom. Now, the other thing is this hole is at the bottom of your bag. So if you unzip this part, you go all the way to the bottom of your bag right here. The hole is right here. So you don't really see it. It's at the bottom of your bag. But it doesn't, this glue doesn't make it feel hard or clumpy, and it dries really fast. So it's my preferred method of doing it. But you could use double-sided hem tape where you wouldn't need to use glue. You can just put it in there and you squeeze it and it closes it. You could use a ladder stitch. There's lots of ways you can close this hole. So just use whatever method you prefer. I prefer the glue. So I'm going to show you how to use the glue. So I'm just going to open this glue. I'm going to go ahead, and there's some of a hole right there. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over. And you can see this is what the glue looks like right there. I'm going to go ahead and put it in, and I'm going to put it right along the line right here. I'm going to get it all the way along that line. Then I'm just going to go ahead and squeeze. If there's any excess, I just go like this. It doesn't do anything. And then I go ahead and put a clip right there. Then I move the clip. I get to the next part that's not open. It's really simple and fast. I have to wait till my glue comes down. Okay. Go across this little line. Go ahead and squeeze, get any excess off. Put a clip there. I'm going to put a clip there so it's helping it stay. Okay. And I'm going to just get the last little part. Okay. Go ahead and close it, get any excess off that's there. And go ahead and put the last clip there. Now you are all done with closing your hole. I'm going to leave that for like 3 minutes, and I'll come back and show you what we're doing next. In the meantime, for the 3 minutes, you have stabilizer right here. This is where your zipper is. Go ahead. The way that I open this is I go ahead and just pull both sides and find out where it is. Oops, there's this is open too. You just have to get this stabilizer off. Let me see where it is. There we go. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time getting it open. Okay, so if your zipper was not open, you wouldn't have this hole. That's why the zipper being open is important. So I'm just going to take off all the stabilizer while this is drying. So I'm going to clean this up, and I'll come back and show you what we do next. Okay guys, it's been 3 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and take these off. You can see that I cleaned the stabilizer off right here. It's all cleaned up. It was easy to tear. There's some placement stitches that are in that stabilizer. You can just pull them, or you can cut them if you want. It's not breaking your bag. It's just the placement stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these off. You can see that it's closed. It's clean. It's not crunchy or anything. So It's a good way to close it. So now you're going to flip through this opening. So I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing we just did, and I'm going to start flipping. Now this one, you're going to want to get your corners really nice and stuff because this is your final turn. So I'm going to go ahead and take this tool and get my corners really nice. Don't press too hard. You don't want to go through your bag. Just want to get these corners all really nice and the bottom nice. Okay, so I'm going to zip these and show you what it looks like zippered first. Okay. Get all this stuff out of the way. Okay, there you go. We are finished with the double top zip zipper bag by Parker on the Porch. Okay, and so you can see here's your fold over elastic, and you can clip it and hang it. You can see that there's 2 zippers. Here's our first one. You open it up. You have a pouch in there with your cute liners. And then you have your top one right here. Completely enclosed seams, really super cute. There you go. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know if you have any questions. And you can get this design at parkerontheporch.com.